Hey everybody, it's Jamie from Lemon Rebellion. I'm here today talking to Nesreen Ahmed. I love this woman and I can't wait for you to get to know her a little bit too. She is the founder and CEO of Harbor Light Coaching and specializes in grief, loss, and major change. She's also a professional certified coach, credentialed through the International Coaching Federation, and has earned a Master of Science degree in communication. She also is in the process of becoming a certified positive intelligence coach. I couldn't remember if you're in the process or you're already completed that.
I am officially certified now. Yes.
Yay. Okay, wonderful. So she is a certified positive intelligence coach and also a grief educator. Thank you for being here, Nesreen. I'm excited for everyone to get to know you. Tell us a little bit more about you and how you got into this work.
Absolutely. I'm actually in the process now of becoming the grief educator. I'm in the training program.
Okay. All right. Well, good.
Always learning. I mean, I love coaching. I love what I do. I specialize in grief coaching specifically because I've seen the power of this work, both in my own life with my own losses, and then also with my clients. And I'm so committed to it. So I'm constantly trying to take another course and learn more and just expand my skills. But I got into coaching originally after my sister passed away. So she was my older sister. I have two older sisters, and she was the middle sister. And she died very suddenly at the end of 2013. And I mean, I'm sure you can imagine I was like my hero. Just what the trauma and the upset and the idea that the world was no longer stable. Right, the ground under me was no longer stable. I had no idea of how to deal with this, you know what I mean? And so at that point, she had actually passed away in San Francisco where I was living, and I was like, I need to move back to New York. You know, I'd only been in San Francisco for a few years, and so most of my core support team and friends, you know, and my family, they were all on the East Coast. So I moved back to New York and very quickly started working in my previous career, working on Broadway, backstage, and realized this isn't it. You know, I've changed too much in my life has changed. I know that I want to do something that feels more purposeful, more meaningful to me, and like I can make a difference for other people. So I ended up hiring a life coach to find out what I wanted to do with my life. And I was like, oh, look, I want to be a life coach. And so very quickly enrolled in a year-long training program for life and business coaching. Through that, I found out about grief coaching, and it took a while to actually call the grief coach and make the appointment and start working with her. But once I did, I was like, oh, hold the phone. Like, you know, so much in my life had changed by that point, but a lot of my grief was still the same. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't a lot of movement in it, and there just felt like so much guilt, so much regret, so much missing of my sister that I was like, I'm never going to be okay again, you know. And what I realized with my coach was that there were so many things that felt unfinished because of, you know, she died suddenly. So there were a lot of things I never got to say to her, a lot of things that I had wished had been different in our relationship. And it took some work, but we really got to the point where I was able to forgive myself, you know, for the way that I showed up in our relationship over the years, and forgive the way that it went, forgive her, you know. So there was a lot of really deep work, forgiveness, about letting go of guilt, you know, recognizing that I'm human, and I, you know, did the best I could with the information I had, and now that I know better, right, I'm doing better. So yeah, it changed so much for me, and it really helped me see how, you know, the people who is most important in my life and what's most important to me, and how I treat my people is everything, right? The gratitude that I show, the confirmation, or the um, I need to show them how much I love them. I need them to know how much I love them to help me in future losses, right? And so I really, you know, with my core people, I'm so much more giving and present and you know, loving, and I really try to spend as much time as I can making sure that they feel that and they know that. And to me, that's a way of doing better, right? With, you know, since I couldn't do that with my sister, I could do that with my family, my parents, my husband, my new baby, you know, all these different people that I just absolutely adore. So it really changed so much for me, and I decided this is the path. You know, there's a lot of life coaches out there, but very few coaches who are really trained in grief and really understand how to hold that space and help people move forward, you know what I mean, move through their grief, because you never get over it, right? But you're
Right.
able to move through and process. And if you process well, then you find the meaning, you find the purpose, you find something beyond just their loss that you're able to walk with after that.
Yeah, thank you for that. Well, I'm sorry about the loss of your sister. Obviously, that must have been incredibly painful. And at the same time, I admire so much how you've been able to turn, I know this is your tagline, but it's perfect, the pain into purpose. And it sounds like this experience has allowed you to have, you know, deeper relationships and more intentional, purposeful relationships with the people around you that matter the most. It seems like it's given you some clarity. Is that something that you do in the work with your clients that are going through grief to guide them through that process, or how does that work?
No, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, so much of the work that we do is around their lost loved one, right?
Mhm.
And we talk first about, are they taking care of themselves, right? How's their foundation, right? Their physical and mental well-being, their emotional well-being. Are they getting the kind of support that they need, right? So that's kind of the first part of it, just to make sure that they're able to take care of themselves and
Yeah.
eat, sleep, all the basics. And then after that, yeah, we definitely start talking about the relationships with the people they're in now when it comes to their grief. So very often people have friends or family members that are a bit judgy. They'll start asking about,
Sure.
like, it's been a year, what's going on? Or you just need to move forward. You need to move on. Like, you can always get married again, or you can have another baby. You know what I mean? Like, people will say some awful things without meaning to, right? And so we
Sure.
really
The
have to
best
learn
intentions,
how.
for sure. Right.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of cliches, right? The time heals all, or just be grateful that you had X amount of time with this person. They lived a long life. They're in a better place. Like, so many things that we say without thinking, but really when you're grieving, when you're in the middle of that, it absolutely stops you from being able to grieve with that person openly, safely, you
Yeah.
know?
Interesting. Yeah.
And so we have to learn how to respond to that. And then, yes, absolutely, we start talking about their relationship with their loved one. And like I said, there's often things to forgive, right? There's often things to resolve, because we walk around with these ideas and stories about who we should have been, what we should have done, what they should have done, what we should have noticed in the days leading up to their loss or to their passing. There's all these different things that come up, and we need to address all of them, right? And so there's a number of different things I work around with my clients.
What was that? Yeah, you're right. Okay. Work around. Gotcha.
And definitely, improving any current relationship that needs improving is definitely one of those areas. We look at what's most important to them and who's most important to them, and what they need to feel like they're living a purpose-driven and satisfying life.
Yeah, that brings up something for me that I think is delicate, because the idea of lemon rebellion is, going from adversity to advantage, or using life's hardships to fuel our personal growth and transformation. There's this whole concept of post-traumatic growth too. But I'm also so keenly aware that is not something that you push on people, because if you've had a loss, or you're grieving, or you're coping with something really difficult, that message might feel offensive if you're not ready for it. But eventually down the road, there is a time and place for maybe not moving on, like you say, but transforming that pain or that adversity into purpose or advantage, to still live a fulfilling, satisfying life, even if we're carrying some of these hard things with us. What would you say? How long should we be holding on to that grief, or that hard story, hard situation?
Absolutely. First of all, I highly recommend that people get the right kind of support depending on where they are on their grief journey. So I don't adhere to or talk about the grief stages very much, but very often, you might be at a point where you're not ready to move forward. You're not ready to deal with your loss in a more proactive way, like you would with a grief coach. So I actually created an assessment where people can go, and depending on their responses, they'll basically be recommended either seeing a grief therapist, a grief counselor, or a grief coach, just to kind of give them a sense of, like, okay, here's a starting point of where I am and the kind of support that I need right now.
Yeah.
And there's no timeline for grief. There's no like cutoff point. Very often, or a lot of people, I'll say this, a lot of people in the grief world, a lot of experts say that it's the first 2 years are usually kind of the early stages of grief, the initial stages of grief. And some people are like, why, it's been 6 months, why don't I feel better? You know what I mean? So it can definitely vary from person to person, from the kind of loss they've experienced and
Sure.
from their own levels of, having that ability to turn their adversity into something else, right? Having that ability to turn their pain into something else. So it really depends on the person.
Mm.
But I would say, if you're still really stuck in terms of just the basics of like getting up, getting to work on time, making sure that you're eating well, making sure that you're sleeping well, and it's been a few years, then you should definitely seek, potential counseling or therapy, and therapy, actually, I'll say
Yeah.
that, and really start to look at, maybe some underlying symptoms, and or if there's other mental health issues going on, chemical imbalances that are going on that maybe you can take
Yeah.
medication for, that kind of thing. If it's something not super traumatic, and if it feels like it is something that you're able to deal with fairly well,
Mhm.
it might take a lot less time, and you might be more ready or more prone to looking at, okay, how can I turn this challenge into something bigger? And that, yeah, that would probably take less than 2 years.
Okay. What are some of the signs? I don't know if this is the right question or not, but I'm just thinking, you mentioned, a counselor, or a therapist or psychologist and a counselor and a coach. Uh, What would be the signs or the thing one would look for to be like, okay, a coach would be the right thing to help me at this point in my process?
Well, I will say a lot of people come to me after they've already tried some counseling, they've tried some support groups, they may have seen a therapist either in the past about other experiences or about their loss. And what they're finding is that it gets them to a certain level, and
Mm.
then they kind of just stay there,
Yeah.
right? They're not really making any more progress on their grief, nor are they making progress in the rest of their life,
Mm.
right? So they might feel just stagnant overall, or they're really looking for something where they can stop feeling so guilty, they can stop beating themselves up so much. And one of the things I love about coaching is about it's designed to help you move forward. And we talk so much about mindset. We talk so much about what the stories, our head or brain tells us versus the reality, versus the facts. You know what I mean? And so, like there's this great quote that I just read the other day by Byron Katie that says, um, "Reality is so much kinder than the stories we make up about it."
Ah,
Right?
yeah.
I read that and I was like, oh, this is
Yeah.
I have to like use that
Yes.
all the time now. And that's really a lot of what grief coaching is about. It's about helping you see that the stories that you have in your head about what you did, what you didn't do, who you said, or who you should have been, what you said,
Sure.
who did what at, in the hospital, or, whatever it is, right? The stories we make up aren't necessarily fact,
Yeah.
right? And so we really need to start thinking about, what's the fact? What's my story around it? And what can I choose to believe instead? What
Right.
will bring me more peace? What will ease my heart? What will lessen the load? What will reduce
Yeah.
the weight of grief?
Yeah, that's really beautiful and very clear as an image too. Well, what can grief teach us if we're able to, in our process move forward? Maybe we get some help from a guide like you, an expert coach like you. What waits on the other side? What can we learn from grief?
Oh my God, so many lessons, so many lessons. I mean, first and foremost, like the clarity that I said, very often, again, in the beginning of your journey of grief, depending on what you've been through, there might be a lot of brain fog, there might be a lot of confusion, there might be a lot of like
Sure.
inability to focus, right? But at some point, your heart starts talking to you, right? There's a very maybe low volume voice of like, here's what's important, right? Who's important in my life? These are my core people, right?
Yeah.
This is my tribe, and this is the kind of life I want to have. Like you're going to start to understand, I can't give up this job right now because I need to pay my bills, but I don't love this job. I
Right.
don't want to spend my time. We really get to face our own mortality, right?
Mm.
And in those moments, we start to see, like, if I, God forbid, heaven forbid, spirit forbid, universe forbid, if something happens to me, am I going to feel satisfied? Am I going to feel like I've made the impact that I want to make? You know what I mean? And so you really start to see, like, okay, this is the path that I should be on, even if it's scary, even if it means changing a lot of things, even if it means cutting off relationships, ending a career that I thought that I'd be in forever, that kind of thing. Um, And it also, like I said, like it really gives you some insight into who you want to be in the world, who you want to be in your relationships with people, who you want to be for yourself. You know, I've had to do a lot more work, but I've really learned like self-compassion, you know, a bit of patience and empathy for myself. I'm a human, you know.
Yeah.
I have my ups and downs just like everybody else. You know, being a coach doesn't exclude me from all those different emotions, you know, and different feelings. So it's about practicing compassion and love for yourself and for the people around you.
Yeah, I love that. I hear within what you're saying, I keep thinking of the word intentionality and authenticity. That it sounds like that is what you can do with this. You can create an intentional life that's like your most authentic, connected self. I love that. No one
Your
wants
favorite self.
your favorite bestest bestie best self. I mean, nobody wants loss. You don't want to lose a family member or a lesser loss, you know, of a job or a friend group or something. But knowing that there is light on the other side and there is hope, and that there are people like you to help people move forward, to just frame these things and process them without judgment in a safe space. But focused on the future as well. What's coming next? How can we use this to create more meaningful, purposeful lives? I think that that's beautiful. And I'm, you know, you within the Lemon Rebellion event, you're the only person that has this grief kind of specialty. We've got some other people that are trained in trauma, which is interesting too, and related as well. But I love that you're going to be sharing about this, because it's important for everyone to know it's not just about the name Lemon Rebellion. You know that saying, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade.
Mhm.
For me, that's like the fake thing. Like, you got lemons, put on a smile, push through. It's about not coping. That's the fake. Push it down and move forward. And Lemon Rebellion is really about showing up and facing what's really there, and then deciding on your own terms how you're going to move forward. And I think that having you speak to grief, that's part of what's really there, and how are we going to move forward and deal with that. I love that you're going to be part of this. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm super excited. And I mean, we all experience grief. I want to help normalize the conversation and help people understand what they can expect or what kinds of things are normal, because it feels like it's so taboo to talk about. Like we can talk about so many different things
Yeah.
in our society now. Why not grief too? I mean, look at where the world is right now. Look at how many people are experiencing grief on a massive scale, right? I think we have to talk about it. So thank you so much for, you know, for the invitation, and what an exciting event. I'm thrilled for it.
Oh, thank you. I'm thrilled to have you. And again, for everyone who's listening or watching, Nesreen Ahmed is going to be giving a session within our main event about going from grief to resilience, and then also leading a longer kind of workshop session that you'll be able to find more information about on our webpage. Nesreen, thank you for being here. Everyone, thank you for listening. Come join us at Lemon Rebellion September 19th through the 25th. Get your ticket at lemonrebellion.com. We'll see you there. Nesreen, any final words?
I can't wait. I think it's going to be a really powerful event, and every day is filled with so much that I know people are going to just, you know, walk away with a tremendous amount of knowledge, experience, and you know, benefits so much from it.
Thank you. Awesome. All right, everyone. We'll see you there. Thanks, Nesreen.
Take care.
Bye.